Raleigh's mega transformations by 2030. Raleigh is about to be completely transformed in the next 5 years. From a 40-story tower to a multi-billion-dollar corridor and a 308-acre park that rivals Central Park, we have construction already ongoing in many areas of Raleigh. You know, I've tracked which are opening, which are stalled, and what it means if you're thinking about buying or selling in one of the fastest growing real estate markets in America. The first project to tell you about is Highline Glenwood. In 2025, the doors opened on what is now Raleigh's tallest residential building, and suddenly conversations in our area were all about our skyline. Highline Glenwood is already under construction and the first tower is just opened. This is a 37-story residential tower, and it will be the tallest residential building in Raleigh. 37 stories will change things. We're talking about a $200 million development by Turnbridge Equities that will completely change the Glenwood South corridor. So the first tower has 306 luxury apartments ranging from studios all the way up to 3-bedroom penthouses with condo quality finish. And when I say luxury, I mean ultra luxury. The 37th floor has an indoor-outdoor sky lounge with 360-degree views of downtown Raleigh and the surrounding area. You can see the entire city from up there. The 9th floor has 13,000 square feet outdoor terrace with a pool, a paddle court, which is a mix between tennis and racquetball. And the terrace will also have lawn areas, grills, fire pits, many places to gather, entertain, and just hang out. They've also got a TrackMan golf simulator, a fitness center designed with anatomy fitness and a wellness suite with cold plunge, sauna, and a hyper ice recovery technology. To add even more interest to this city living work lifestyle, on the ground floor, they're bringing in about 7,500 square feet of retail space. You're going to have shops and restaurants right at the street level, but they're also preserving the historic creamery building. It was built in 1928, and it's converting into 50,000 square feet of commercial space. BuildOps just signed a lease there for a 290-person office. This location is perfect. This is Glenwood South, which already has over 50 retailers, 56 bars, 46 restaurants, and 5 hotels. And speaking of ambitious projects, wait until you see the $2.2 billion Downtown South vision. I'll break it down later because the funding situation is fascinating. So you're dropping this tower right in the middle of one of Raleigh's most vibrant entertainment districts. And the first tower is under construction currently, and they're looking at full build out by 2028. And what's more is that the developers have already rezoned for a potential phase 2. That could add another 300 units or 300,000 square feet of commercial space. This sets the tone for everything else that we're covering today. So when a 37-story tower opens and rezoning is already approved for phase 2, you realize that developers are betting big on Raleigh's future growth. Quick note before we dive deeper, if you're watching these transformations and thinking about making a move to Raleigh, I work with buyers and sellers navigating this growth every day, and I can show you which neighborhoods and areas make the most sense for your situation, so don't hesitate to reach out to me. The next project is called the Weld. So if you've driven down Capitol Boulevard recently, heading towards south on Lake Wheeler Road, you've seen this one. There's still a construction crane on top of it. This is a $700 million project that just finished its first tower. Here's what makes the Weld special. It has 2 20-story towers on 3.5 acres right at the intersection of Lake Wheeler Road and Hamill Drive. The first tower is called Ray and has 392 units with 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments plus 8 townhomes. Now the location is key because this building is literally at the front door to Dorothea Dix Park, which is our new 308-acre acre park being transformed into one of the largest new urban parks in the entire country. The massive development in our area is really interesting, especially when we get to the Blue Ridge Corridor section. And I'll show you how $2.7 billion development pipeline that is creating the next North Hills on the west side of Raleigh. So you've got these two 20-story towers serving as southern gateway to both Dix Park and downtown Raleigh. And they're putting in 30,000 square feet of ground level retail and restaurant space. And they're creating this central shared green space between the two buildings that connects directly to Dix Park. This is so residents can walk right out their door and be in the trails in the park in no time. And when the entire project is finished, we're talking about 1,200 residential units total across multiple phases. The Weld proves that location can be as valuable as the building itself. Direct park access isn't just a marketing line, it's a lifestyle differentiator that people can dream about living near. Which brings us to the park that's driving all this development around it, and that's project number 3, Dorothea Dix Park transformation. What if you could walk out your apartment door directly onto trails in a 308-acre park? That's not a future amenity. Around 104,000 people showed up for one event here in April of 25, and the park isn't even finished yet. So this shows the demand and the appetite for park-like settings and outdoor access in the city. And when it's fully developed, they say it's going to rival Central Park in New York in terms of scale and impact. So right now they're actively working on major upgrades. The Gibson Play Plaza just opened in 2025. They're upgrading the trolley system, expanding the trails network, adding public spaces like picnic areas and playgrounds and sports facilities, creating cultural spaces for performances, gatherings, and doing the ecological restoration with native plantings. The interesting thing is the park just isn't about the park itself, it's becoming a catalyst for development all around it. Kane Realty is building Park City South, a mixed-use development with multiple phases, including 20-story towers. They just delivered their first 335 apartments by 2025. So you've got this 308-acre park under active development right now, with phases being finished incrementally through 2030, and it's sparking billions of dollars in development around it. This is transforming that entire southern gateway to downtown Raleigh. The Dreamville Festival drew over 104,000 people in April 25. So this park is becoming a regional attraction, not just a local spot. When the park can host a 104,000 people festival while still under construction, you realize the impact is going way beyond the green space. It's an economic engine driving billions in surrounding development. Now, while Dix Park transforms the South, there's a corridor on the west side that most people haven't even heard about yet. And that's project number 4, the Blue Ridge Corridor. They're calling it the next North Hills. This is a 3-mile stretch along Blue Ridge Road with $2.7 billion development pipeline. That's billion with a B. This is one of the largest development corridors in the entire Triangle region. The biggest piece is the new North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services headquarters. Phase 1 is an 11-story tower with 900 space parking deck that costs over $250 million and will house 2,500 employees. That one's finished now, and phase 2 is going to be another tower for thousands of employees, and they're doing that as a public-private partnership. But that's just one piece. You've also got the PNC Arena development happening, which is a big deal for West Raleigh. Bandwidth recently opened its new headquarters there. Multiple apartment buildings are going up. The Triangle Bikeway is planned to connect the North Carolina Museum of Art all the way to Chapel Hill, which will be a phenomenal biking experience. Plus, the city of Raleigh is building Smoky Hollow Park, which is a 14 10-acre open green space. That will be created in different districts within this corridor. You've got a wellness district around Rex Hospital and all the medical facilities and gyms in that area. And besides, you've got research district with the North Carolina State Biomedical Facilities and the Arts District around the North Carolina Museum of Art, and the entertainment district with PNC Arena, Carter Finley Stadium, and the North Carolina Fair State Grounds. This is in the early stage, but it's already in planning and construction is starting in 2026. So by 2030, this corridor is going to look completely different. The Blue Ridge Corridor shows how Raleigh is expanding outward strategically, not just densifying downtown. Jobs, amenities, infrastructure clustered along major corridors create new centers of gravity. So speaking of downtown transformation, there's a civic project rising right now that's impossible to miss, and that's our new Raleigh City Hall. Currently, our new Raleigh City Hall is under construction and is about 50% done as of early 26. A 17-story tower with around 365,000 square feet of space. They're bringing the city staff from 6 different buildings into one location, which is going to save taxpayers $160 million over the next 30 years. This is one that you've probably seen if you drive through downtown. So this is a $206 million project. The 17th floor is done, the shell is nearly complete, and taxpayers are going to save $160 million over the next 30 years because of this consolidation. The first 3 floors are what they're calling the House for the People, which is all public-facing facilities. So you'll have your city council chambers, a public service center, conference spaces, art gallery, and outdoor terraces. The upper floors are office space, conference rooms, and wellness space for the staff. They held the topping out ceremony November of 25. The 17th floor is done. The outside shell is nearly finished. They're working on interior framing right now, so installing elevators, putting in drywall on the lower levels, and installing windows. Completion is supposed to come in December of 26 with people moving in during 2027. The Salisbury Square project we'll cover a few minutes has been scaled back from 2 20-story towers to 7 stories, which tells you a lot about how developers are reading the market right now. So phase 1 of the Raleigh Civic Campus Master Plan has more civic projects coming after this one, and there is no doubt this is changing our downtown skyline. The building at 110 South McDowell Street in the Nash Square area will be one of the most visible buildings in downtown Raleigh. City Hall represents more than government efficiency. When a 17-story tower rises as a house for the people, it signals a city investing in its future and its identity. But government buildings aren't the only civic project getting major investment right now. The North Carolina History Museum is getting a complete makeover, and this is the largest cultural investment in North Carolina history. The doors closed in October of 24, and when they reopen in 27 or 28, visitors will find 25% more gallery space and a completely reimagined experience. So the museum closed to the public in October of 24, and construction started in August of 25. This is the $225 million project with $180 million coming from the North Carolina General Assembly and added to by private donation. So here's what they're doing. They're adding 25% more gallery space with an extra 40,000 square feet. They're moving the entrance to the north side of the Bicentennial Plaza. The History Museum is doing a complete interior renovation. From giving the exterior a major facelift to creating new outdoor plazas. They're also making it more interactive and inviting with state-of-the-art technology, and they're improving accessibility and the overall visitor experience. The work is going to take 2 to 3 years, so we're looking at reopening in 2027 or 2028. And when it reopens, it's going to be a completely different historic museum. It's going to be a regional cultural anchor and bring more tourism and economic activity to downtown Raleigh. Cultural infrastructure supports everything else that we're covering. So when downtown offers world-class museums alongside new residential towers, you're building a complete urban experience. Now, not every project is moving forward at full scale, and the next development shows how developers are adapting to market realities. The Salisbury Square project is interesting because the original plans were scaled back, but it's still a solid project. The two 20-story towers got scaled back to one 7-story building, but 304 apartments and a new bank headquarters are still moving forward in 2026. So the original plan called for two 20-story towers with over 600 apartments across from the Duke Energy Center. But in February of 25, Dominion Realty Partners scaled it back to a 7-story building with hundreds of apartments in the first phase. Here's what they're building. It will be a mixed use with residential, office building, and retail. Dogwood Bank is putting their headquarters there, and they're building 660 space parking deck. There will be 3 courtyards, a pool, a club room, a game room, and a fitness center. So developers scaled it back to take a step-by-step approach, and site prep is still underway right now. And phase 1 is starting in 2026. Even though it's scaled back from the original vision, this is still going to change the Southern Gateway area across from Duke Energy Center. And you know, there's always the chance that future phases could add more height if the market dictates. Salisbury Square proves that adaptation beats cancellation. The developer read the market, adjusted the plan, and kept moving forward. You know, speaking of forward momentum, there's a project that's opened exactly on schedule, and that represents a completely new development approach for Raleigh, and that's project number 8. It's the Union West Russ Bus. Union West and the Russ Bus facility are a part of Raleigh's first major transit-focused development. And I've mentioned many times that Raleigh is a car town. So this bus facility opened in late July 25, and it's Raleigh's first major project designed entirely around the regional transit, and over 400 apartments that are under construction right next door. This is a $40.7 million project by Go Triangle at 200 Southwest Street, right next to Raleigh Union Station in the Warehouse District. So the Russ Bus facility is a transit hub with 6 bus bays, 2 layover spaces, passenger waiting areas, public restrooms, and bike parking. So now the Union West residential piece is under construction. They're building about 385 apartments alongside the ground floor retail. The apartments should be finished in 2026. This is important because it's Raleigh's first major transit-focused development, and it's a model for future projects, and it connects downtown to a regional transit network. And speaking of how the city is handling growth, the 40-story tower approvals we'll discuss next will show you exactly how aggressive Raleigh is getting with height limits downtown. So as Raleigh continues to grow, and we need better transit options, this is showing you how you can build mixed-use, high-density development around transit hubs. Union West proves the transit-oriented development model can work in Raleigh, North Carolina. When apartments and hotels and retail clusters are around a regional bus hub, you're building infrastructure that supports thousands of future residents. Which brings me to a question everyone's asking: just how tall are Raleigh's buildings about to get? It takes us to project number 9 of multiple 40-story tower proposals. That's the new ceiling for downtown Raleigh. Multiple sites are already rezoned, and some will actually hit that limit. Here's where things get really interesting for the skyline. Raleigh City Code allows up to 40 stories in the downtown core, and multiple sites have been rezoned for that maximum height. So let me give you a few examples. There's a Nash Square Tower by Alchemy Properties that's originally zoned for 40 stories but got scaled back to 20 stories in August of 25. It's now planned as a luxury condo tower with mixed-use retail and office. And there's a 30-story building at Peace and West Streets that was approved by Planning Commission in August of 25 for mixed-use residential and office. Raleigh Crossing Phase 2 is approved for up to 40 stories with mixed residential and office space. And of course, Highline Glenwood, which we already talked about, was rezoned to allow 40 stories, though they're building it at 37 stories. Here's the pattern that we're seeing. The city is allowing a 40-story height in the downtown core, but the market is figuring out the actual scale. Some projects are being built at the full 40 stories. Others are scaling back to 20 or 30 stories based on the market conditions and what they think they can fill. But the key point is Raleigh's skyline is about to look very different. And we're going from a city where most buildings downtown were 10 to 15 stories to having multiple towers in the 20 to the 40-story range. And that's a complete transformation. The 40-story approval signals that Raleigh is thought of as a mid-sized city. And when you allow Manhattan-level height, you're competing for Manhattan-level investments and residents. So now there's one last downtown project we need to discuss, even though the current status is complicated. And that's project number 10, which is Downtown South. That was originally announced as a $2 billion project on 140 acres at the intersection of South Saunders and Interstate 40. And the vision called for a 20,000-seat open-air stadium for North Carolina FC and the NC Courage soccer teams, with millions of square feet for office space and up to 9 million square feet of retail and up to 16,000 residential units. Well, Downtown South is a big question mark now. So I want to be very clear about where this project stands. The project was rezoned and approved back in December of 2020. The developers, Kane Realty and Steve Malek, projected $3.8 billion in economic impact over 15 years and close to 6,000 jobs created. But here's the problem. The project has stalled because of funding issues. The developers were asking for $13 million per year in interlocal funds, which are tourism taxes from hotels and restaurants, to help pay for the $180 million stadium. That funding request was never approved. So then in November of 2025, the North Carolina FC, the men's soccer team, announced that they're suspending operations for 2026 season. They're applying to join the new USL Division I League, which isn't starting until 2028. So there's no guarantee that they'll get in. The USL has said that to be accepted, they need a minimum of a 15,000-seat multi-purpose stadium. Their current stadium at Wake Med only seats 10,000. So now the NC Courage, the women's team, is still playing. They're setting attendance records. They're not affected by the men's team suspension, but the stadium funding remains up in the air. So NCFC chairman Steve Malek has said, "I have interest in Downtown South, and downtown Raleigh is a great location. It's one of the largest metropolitan areas in the country without any downtown facility." But he said also, there's no guarantees. So here's where we stand. The project is on hold, and there's no construction start date. Funding is still the main issue. The developer is looking at his options, but the potential is still there. So if funding can be worked out, this would be another huge win for downtown Raleigh. I wanted to include this project because it represents what could happen and because the vision is so big. But it's important to be realistic about where things are now, and this one's in limbo. Downtown South shows how even approved, rezoned mega projects can stall without funding and tenant commitments. So it's a reminder that renderings don't equal reality. So now I'm adding one bonus project that's technically outside of Raleigh city limits, but its regional impact is too significant to ignore. The bonus project is Veridea in Apex. So Veridea is a $3 billion development on roughly 1,100 acres between US 1 and NC 540 in Apex, about 10 miles south of Raleigh. This is one of the largest development projects in the entire Research Triangle area. I'm adding one bonus project here, and technically this is in Apex, not in Raleigh proper, but it's so so important to the regional transformation that I had to include it. RXR, it's a New York-based real estate firm, bought the land in 2023 and started site prep in fall of 2024. The first buildings are going up in 2026 with full build-out by 2035. And here's what they're building. 8,000 homes total, including the first phase called Summit House with 291 apartments, plus single-family homes and townhomes. This is a 12 million square feet of commercial space and 3.5 million square feet of retail, hospitality, and civic space. A 34-acre Wake Technical Community College campus, a new public elementary school, but the biggest boon is in July of 25, they announced that Veridea will be the home of the North Carolina Children's Hospital, a joint Duke and UNC project. And this is going to be built on 230 acres within Veridea at the intersection of US 1 and North Carolina 540. When it's done, the NC Children's Hospital will bring 8,000 jobs and a 500-bed hospital, a children's outpatient care center, 103 children and adolescent behavioral health beds, and research and education center backed by UNC and Duke schools of medicine. This will be the only freestanding independent children's hospital in the Carolinas. They've also put $166 million into infrastructure so far. They've installed 1.88 miles of sewage pumping, traffic, water systems, and they're graded and paving the roads. The development includes trails, dog parks, bike paths, 4 softball fields, 6 tennis courts, and 22,500 square feet community center. This is creating a complete live, work, play community. And here's the context. Apex currently has a population of around 82,000. By 2030, they're looking at 100,000. By 2035, they're looking at 150,000. So Apex is growing fast, Veridea is driving that growth, and there are over 40 projects under construction in Apex right now, adding 5,000 homes and 4 million square feet of retail space. Veridea is the biggest piece, but is part of a much larger shift happening in the southern part of Wake County. And here's why this matters for Raleigh. Even though Veridea is technically in Apex, it's only 10 miles south of Raleigh. And when complete, I-540, the outer loop highway, finishes up in 2028. The connection between Raleigh and Apex is going to get way better. So this is really a regional transformation, not just an Apex thing. So there you have it, 10 mega projects plus the Veridea bonus project are transforming Raleigh and the surrounding region by 2030. So if you're serious about buying or selling in Raleigh while this transformation is still unfolding, email me at marti@martihampton.com. Let's discuss which developments and neighborhoods align with your future timeline. All my contact information is in the description below. Before you go, check out this video right here where I discuss more Raleigh inside information. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.